How's it going, everyone? Session here. Welcome to a Final Fantasy 14 public service announcement, I guess, if you will. I wanted to kind of tackle, I think, a conversation that I've been seeing stem a lot on the internet, and it's actually becoming like a little bit of a pain just to kind of see it all the time now. And it's talking about a lot of the content that we have in the game and kind of how people are perceiving it, but also like the community as a whole. Now, obviously I'm one of the people that are a community in this world as well, right? Like I'm another player. I play this game every single day. I love this game. Everyone, has a reason to find a thing. Um, and here's the thing, like I may be like a content creator and like a streamer, and I'm not like the number one like 14 raider player thing out there, right? Like I don't have like a bajillion views every single day, but I'm here. What's up? Um, but I think that people are very quick to assume that streamers are always a topic of like toxicity. I think that that's such a weird thing to go out on the way to like look for. Now here's the thing, I'm a small fish in a big sea, right? So there's a lot of people that play this game, that stream this game, and that and they find content to do, and then sometimes you can get like good feedback on it, bad feedback, you get like a wide variety to choose from. And I think that people are looking to find a reason to always pin like feedback to toxicity, right? And like negativity. And I think that's like just so counterintuitive because some people just want to be able to express like themselves in terms of how they feel, but it always seems to be stemming to like a negative like mentality, which, I get it though, because right, like everyone thinks that something sucks and something is really like good, but then it was really bad. And, a lot of recent things that have occurred, I would say, over the course of the month of the live letter release, and then of course like the expectation of 7.2, people are kind of waiting for Square Enix to once again like you know blow up and become like a giant hit sensation that it's kind of always been, honestly, right? After 1.0. So I get that people may feel a certain kind of way, but there's also like a lot of things you got to like remember. And the community, I think, is always willing to find a negative space and on the media platforms to like really express that feeling, which again, it's not going to paint a good look. Now, obviously, like, does the game have a lot of issues? Not particularly, actually. The game has like a couple of things that you kind of remembered from what it was like back in the day or something, right? And you want to be able to find something that can kind of keep you playing this game on a constant, everyday basis. But the game didn't really have that kind of mentality, as far as I was aware. And again, like once people start to paint that narrative, then right, it's only going to be spreading like wildfire, because like again, when people start acting like a certain way and get like the pass for that, then usually we kind of just brush it to the side and like not care, right? Or in another case scenario, if you were able to become some kind of streamer and like you only promote like positivity, then people are trying to find out ways to like bring you down, right? Like, so it's always, we're always looking for some kind of way to bring people down in some way, shape, and form. Or even more so, we look at their achievements and then we just bring them down to a low. But then that's kind of hypocritical in certain scenarios when you like, let's say for example, because this happened to me very recently, right? Because I on my character, I have the machinist weapon from the Bahamut Ultimate on, and they were like, "Oh, like how did you just get that weapon?" And I was like, "Well, I got it like a while ago, but like whatever, like who cares, right?" And then they were like, "Yeah, by the way, like Stormblood had UCOP being like a much harder ultimate," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's a cool story, but like nobody asked, you know." And again, it's like it's them trying to like bring out something and like bring my achievement down, which again, like, do I brag that I clear ultimates? Like, no. Like, anybody can go do an ultimate. It's just a matter of going to go do it. Now, if anything, everyone, if you watch our streams and our videos from time to time, like when we talk about ultimate content in this game, like I'm one of those people that like I want the ultimates to be actually even harder. Like we even had like a whole presentation that I created from the ground up, and again, like, is it perfect? Like, no, but the whole point of the presentation was to at least like you know give it a reason to make the content in the game harder, knowing that like it doesn't take away accessibility, right? Because a lot of people on the internet are also going about how like the ultimate being like the easiest it's ever been in terms of clear rate, the savages being the easiest it's ever been because of the clear rate, is like an acceptable thing because like no one does the content in the first place. But that's also like not entirely true. I think that if you see something that you want in the game, then you have every reason to go in and like go acquire it, right? Which I think is like a cool thing, but people want it to be strapped with like the easy tag, right? Like, and I think that kind of takes away the achievement a little bit even more so because if you try and go into UCUB and Uwu now, like people kind of like just laugh at the fact that you can do UCUB and Uwu without even like a full party of 8 players, you know what I mean? And people try and find new ways to create even more like opportunities that kind of like just throw the game on like a whole different whim, right? And it seems cool at first until you realize that like it's trying to them have a way to like cheat the system, if you will, at least like for the content sake, right? So to kind of stem further by what I'm talking about, the most recent ultimate being Futures Rewritten, which we also talked about in like our little like presentation, was cleared not only with no healers, but it was also cleared with no tanks. So now we've already established the idea behind like this, and everyone is either like, oh yeah, that's really cool, or like, I don't care. Or people are like, oh, this is an outrage. Like my job is useless in an ultimate. Unbelievable. But like that's obviously like not true, because obviously it's not something that is used in like a normative perspective for doing the content right. Like I've never seen a party finder fill where people were deliberately trying to go out of their way to like only allow DPS and healers and then no tanks, right? Now people might try and make that work and see if the party will fill, but like I can't really ensure the possibility of that happening. And again, like that's fine. It's not like a big ordeal, but again, the fact that it is possible is I think also an opportunity for the dev team to figure out, okay, do we like this or do we not like this? And then if the answer is yes, then it's like, okay, well maybe we'll try to consider, you know, ways that like at least mechanically, right? Like it's not, it shouldn't be possible, but if you do figure it out, then like, congratulations. Or which I think is much more likelihood, they're going to be like, hey, they figured out a way to do this without tanks or healers. You need to make sure that this is impossible. Which I think they tried that like a little bit, right, with the whole like gauge thing in for ultimates, right? Like if you have like duplicate jobs, you can't do that, and then people find a way to work around that, which again I think it a little bit backfired. But I think at the same time they're trying to figure out even more so, and I think that now that we've especially seen the recent ultimate on patch cleared without without tanks and without healers, I think it's going to have them double down a little bit even further in preparation for the new ultimate that we're going to be seeing in 7.3, where you mechanically actually just you can't do it, right? I mean, at least that's the thought process. So anyways, all that being said, because of all of these moments occurring throughout the internet and people are seeing it come to like a possibility, like I think it's kind of cool in the moment, but like I'll never go pursue it. But everyone's taking that information and saying like the game is dying and the game is failing because like you can just do that, right? Which again, I'm like, that's not how, I don't think it works that way. But I think there was a recent player tracker thing, and I think that like Dawn Trail has been, at least for this quarter, it's been low, right? But I think also there's a lot of things that people are finding a reason to play this game for, and I think also people are trying to, they're still just waiting for the new patch, because sometimes doing content like an ultimate isn't really for you. I think that's why when you try and create something that has a sense of accessibility and you make something look really cool, doesn't really indicate that people are going to want to just always go in and do it, right? So some peers will actually like tell you that because they tried to make it easy, like the new ultimate and the raid tier, was because they wanted to try to increase the presence of people actually trying to attempt that content. But and like the rate of people that actually clear the content increased, but I don't know if the actual surge of players that actually got into the ultimate for the very first time ever increased with that as well, right? I'm under the impression at least that anytime that anyone asks like, hey, I want to get into ultimates for the very first time ever, which one do I pick? I feel like 9 times out of 10 they always either pick a combination of either Uwu T or UCOB, right? Like no one is really going to try and go into Fru for their first ultimate. I mean, you might, but I don't really, like, I haven't been advising that to anybody. A lot of friends that I've been talking to have also been asking me the same exact question, and I say, hey, like, if you want to know like what the challenge at least feels like and goes like, then just go down the list. Start with UCOB, then go to Uwu, and then go to T, and then DSR, then you know what I mean, and then see if that like brings any ideas into how you feel, because the The issue, at least with that, is of course you're gonna have to, be ready to go into a like an ultimate scenario, right? With not all of your buttons, right? And I think that some people are aware of that, but they're also looking for some kind of push to, again, you got to try and get your foot in the door and do content. And again, if you do that though, at the same time, it's like a little hypocritical because then it's like, oh, like you're gonna do this ultimate, but like the hardest one is this one, right? Like I want to see you go do DSR on top, but like it doesn't matter, right? It's very bizarre, honestly. So I don't entirely know, but what I can tell you is that because of the way that the game is currently structured, everyone is trying to find a way to bring you down. I think, or at least it seems that way. I don't think that's actually the case scenario in certain lights, but because again, the problem is like the people that are always like the most talkative about anything in this game, they all like what's the word I'm thinking about? The pattern of people that you encounter that are doing that, it's like a little all too familiar, is what I would say. So I think that's what it boils down to. And again, like I said, the problem with this too is that like people are doing this just to like deliberately like try and bring you down, right? Like that's the only objective. And here's the thing: some of those players that are like, hey, like UCOB was easier back then. Oh my god, like pink this and that, and orange this and that. Like some of them don't even like do content. You know, that's the worst part about it. Is like some people don't even like approach an ultimate or a savage raid or a trial or an unreal for that matter, and like they still try and find a way to like bring you down. So that's why you got to be really mindful about like this community has the potential to thrive like every other community that's able to thrive because they're not necessarily like looking for like the toxicity nonsense, right? I think that's what it really boils down to. And you have to either like find like take the one person who you're like, oh my god, like we protect this person with our life, that yes, it's a Pidgey, right? Because like this person's value at least like means something, and they're not over here making me feel bad about myself when it comes to the game. Versus like somebody who's always trying to find some kind of reason to be like, yo, this game sucks, this, that, and the third, whatever, right? And I think that finding those people is actually not necessarily difficult, but it just seems like it is because like no matter where you walk and go, like you're gonna always hear somebody complaining about something with the game. Like it almost feel like disrespectful and hurtful to hear someone who's like streaming or recording and then they're really really excited for the new patch to come because they're asking like their peers and friends like, hey, like did you watch the live later for 7.2, like are you excited? And people are like, oh my god, like I'm so excited, right? Like you have all these awesome things to look forward to. And for me personally, like as much as I would love to get into the new raids here for Savage and then get prepped for the ultimate, like I actually am super hype about going into like cosmic exploration. Dude, the UI for that thing is awesome looking. And I'm like, man, I love the when the top of this the screen changes and all the colors that they use, it looks so cool and like very pretty. And I'm really like happy to see that actually like is coming into place, right? So I'm actually like super hyped about all that. And I can't wait to get immersed in it. And I think with the Occult Crescent, like the same exact thing. Like I think that Occult Crescent actually has like a potential high case scenario to get like a grip on me just as much as it might on everybody else, right? And I think that's a cool thing. But when you express that excitement for somebody and you hear it like a lot, right? Many like if you had a room of 10 people and one person walks into the room and it's like, hey, are we excited for 7.2? And then like out of those 10 people, 9 of them are like, oh my god, like yeah, like everything looks incredible. But then you have the one schmuck who's like, oh, I looked into something about this and I instantly am disappointed and now I don't care. And it's like you don't even have a clue yet, like how to even think or feel about that content. Like we haven't even like what are we talking about? You know what I mean? So like if someone is asking to know how everyone is excited for it, right? Again, you're gonna find like 9 people that are like super excited for the content, regardless of what it is, regardless of their playstyle. Some people might look at content and be like, "Oh yeah, like I don't do that, but like it looks really cool," and like that's it, right? But also, there's other people that are just gonna literally find some small little nitpicky thing to be like, "This is the thing." And I hate it, and therefore you should too. And like that's just not how that works, you know. So again, I think that the most important takeaway message to this is that like I know that the population of 14 players actively is only on like the slow, like it's on a lower end in comparison to before, but again it's because like the content that this game has is very vast and extensive, right? but at the same time, once the content becomes like a little bit on the older side, right, it's kind of like just there to handle it whenever you want to. My personal feedback on that is that they should actually find a way to like create even more further re-engagement for like old content, right? Give people a reason to actually go back and tackle old content, because like people do it. People find a reason to go back and go do like old Savage raids and extremes and mount farming, or Wonders Tales, like Fates, like you name it, like whatever the content that we have, it exists. There's a reason that it was there when it was out, but it shouldn't lose like its luster or shine because of what it was beforehand, right? Like I think realistically, if you were there for the very beginning, then you understood what the content was like back then and how it is now. But I think that also, with the way how the game is currently manifested, like you're only going to be looking for what's new and not really care too much about what's old, right? So you want to be in with the new, and like, and that's kind of what the mentality has been from the beginning, right? So, anyways, that being said, though, like the game is fine. Okay, if you're playing 14 right now, keep playing 14 right now. Whatever you're doing, story, raids, farming, content, clips, whatever that it is, keep on enjoying it. I think that's great. And hopefully, if your video comes across the feed, if not, if anything, like just find me somewhere on the internet and just like send it to me. I love looking at content for this game, whether it's something that I can relate to or not. But if you're not playing the game, then just wait till the game finds an appeal for you. And if you never come back, listen, that's a choice that you made. Now, should there be a reason to keep you, gripped to the game for as long as possible? Like, yeah, sure. But you also have that choice to find something to do in this game. And if you've done everything and you still aren't satisfied, then like, hey, listen, for you, it's just a waiting game. For like a lot of other players, there's still a lot of things that they got to do. So that's all that there's to it. So yeah, I know that the game is, again, like population was like up here during the early quarter, but like it's down here, and the community like going on like a rampage about it is a listen. The game is fine. Like everyone's playing 14, finding some reason to play it. Is it fun still? Like, yeah. Is it in preparation for something much better in the future? Also, yeah. Because again, this game is currently going through like an identity crisis, if you will, and I'm not going to deny that to some degree, but I'm also like being I'm remembering like that in the previous news that they've actually mentioned, they were like, hey, like we are planning on making a lot of changes, so like expect some things to be like a little weird. And then everyone forgot about that, right? And then like we got the weird thing, and you're like, hey, what the heck is this? And it's like they literally said that this is going to happen some way, shape, and form. So like I don't know why we're surprised, right? So again, the game is fine. Like if you're playing it now, play it. If you're not playing it right now, then that's fine. Like again, it's the game is fine.